Hey everybody, welcome. This is Christy Kerner, the host of Real Women, Real Happy. Today, our guest is Thuy Hadbab. Thuy, thank you for joining us here. So, Thuy, just to get started, I'd love to help people get to know you a little bit just as a person. So, tell us a little bit about what keeps you busy 9 to 5 on the weekends. Like, just give us a little bit of sense of what your world is like.
Um, so I live with my boyfriend and I have two boys, and they're 10 and 13. And I have also a fur baby, Teddy. And my background, I'm a nurse, and I work with regulatory and kind of helping hospitals get accreditation and medical groups license and things like that. So that's what I do on my weekdays. On my weekends, I do way more fun stuff. I like to be active. Um, I like to run. I like to surf. I like to
Wait, time's out. You
snowboard.
actually like to run? Let me just double check this really quick.
Okay, I should
That's a real
clarify.
thing.
I should clarify. I like the fun stuff associated with running. I make
Okay,
running social.
that's
So
awesome.
I don't necessarily like running. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily run. It's more like a fast walk. But if you get out there, you
Okay,
should
yeah,
you should define yourself as a runner. That's what I say.
I like it.
And so I like being outside. I like camping. I like hanging out with my boys and so stuff like that. I'm pretty much anything. If anybody wants anything, to try anything, I'm willing to do it. So,
That's awesome. Noted. All right, perfect. I think, as you know, a part of what I'm trying to do with this series is to help women really almost like reverse engineer how other women have created happiness in areas of their life so that they can use some of the same principles to do that for themselves. When I think about happiness, I want to kind of clarify as well that I'm not talking about a, daily sense of elation and joyfulness to an extreme level. I'm talking about like balance and peace and zen and kind of just this, you feel like you've found your groove and there's not a lot of contention, there's not a lot of negative self-talk. Like there's an area of life where you feel like you have kind of found just a real strong sense of peace and zen and happiness. So what's an area of your life that you feel like you have created that in for yourself?
I would definitely say relationship because, and it's kind of weird that I say this now because if you would have asked me that question like maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have said, oh no, not relationships, because I felt like I needed to be in the, beginner 101 class of relationship because I feel like I failed so many times. But I feel like in part, some of my failures got me to the place where I am now with my relationship because it made me figure out what I needed and what I didn't want, and it just made me realize some of the things that I was doing wrong to kind of put me in the place where I was in my past relationships and why they didn't work out.
That's
So
interesting. I think there really is something to that, we sometimes have to experience things that we don't want to know that we don't want them. Somehow it seems like it should be a lot easier to just spot something we don't want. But there's a nuance to it that I think we don't anticipate. So I hear what you're saying. That's interesting. Well, okay, so take us back 5 years, kind of what was happening then versus what's happening now, and then take us a little bit on the journey between.
well, I had gotten a divorce, and this was after my second marriage. So of course it's like blaring lights, like what is wrong with me? I've been married
I get it.
twice. I can't, why can't I make this work? And I kind of had that feeling like, okay, that's it. I call quits. I'll be happy for the rest of my life single. And so I was kind of there, and I mean, I think I always wanted, we're human, and I think I always wanted that relationship with men, and but I never thought I would get to that point of a serious relationship again, because I'm like, okay, obviously I'm not good at it, and obviously I don't think I'm gonna get there again. But I think I eventually, I think I let go of everything, and because of that, I think I found what I wanted. Because I wasn't so, and I think it also comes with time, because I think when you're younger, you have these certain expectations, you listen to what other people say, and you kind of you define relationships as, this is where I need to be in my life. I'm in my 30s. This is what I need to be. Or I'm in my 20s. This is where I need to be. And I think as we get older, and the fact that, I've had failures in the past, I'm like, well, obviously that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
So then you kind of let go of all those kind of standards that other people put up for you. And you're like, okay, obviously that didn't work for me. So I'm just going to go with the flow and just do whatever, and kind of follow your gut instead of listening to what other people say. And I think that actually helped me, kind of go. And also looking back and saying, okay, that didn't work. So I'm just going to go and do, what feels good. And what I think that
trying so hard and trying to force it and contrive it, just more going with the flow and with what your intuition is guiding you towards, seemed to be
exactly. Like, I think before I looked at guys and said, oh, he would be a good provider, and there's nothing quote wrong with him. He makes good money. He's a nice guy. But I never stopped to say, okay, what does he fulfill in my life? Like, how does he fit in that? And then as the story ends, he didn't. He didn't fit in my life. And so I think, and I also think being honest. I know a lot of people when they first start relationship, it's kind of like this trial, and you're kind of like on your best behavior. And it was like kind of being jaded in the whole relationship. I kind of went the total other way. And it was like, it was like the guys I dated, it was like, look, this is who I am. I have 2 kids. I've been divorced twice, take it or leave it kind of thing. And I kind of laid it out in the beginning because I was kind of like, I'm not here to play games. And, I just want somebody that I can hang out with and have fun with. And it was kind of like, and how you said it was like more of like a zen and at peace. And it's not this, I think when we are younger, we expect like relationships to be like this big fireworks, and it's, flowers every day. And I actually have found, where I am now, and probably the most happiest I've been in a relationship, it's quite the opposite. It's like I wake up and I don't have to think about it, and it's good. And it flows. It's not work, I guess. Before I was always like, oh gosh, if we get in a fight, how do I go about this? And now it's like I don't even have to think about it. If we do argue, and because everybody argues, it's not that I'm saying our relationship is perfect, but when we do argue, it's not work. It's it's just easy. And I think. And let me clarify and say that I don't think I got to that point because, I'm a good fighter. I argue well. I think it's because when I first was, I always tell people, I think I was a bad chooser. Like I let other standards push me into picking something. And that's my fault too. I don't want it to make it sound like, oh, it's society's fault.
Yeah, I to behave that way or to use that process, but it was just what you naturally did based on where you were at that point in your life. So
so then I think I think with this relationship, it was scary at the beginning. Don't get me wrong. Because the guy that I am with now, I've never had someone like that who would do, not the big ginormous things, not flowers, but, sweet little daily things that it was like, why? And then I questioned him, why are you doing that? What do you want? and he would just be like, I'm just being nice. And the thing is, it's like, then I realized it was a me problem too, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that I am, that somebody who does that is always going to want something. So, I had to work on myself to be a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah. So I am of the opinion that a big part of the core of, like, I know, I love femininity and masculinity and how they go together, right? And so to me, the art of femininity is such a lost thing because I don't think that it's at all in disagreement with feminism and with women being powerful and standing up in who they truly are, But I think that one of the things at the core of femininity is receiving. And to receive like a gift of a compliment or a small daily kindness or things like that, it really makes us have to face ourselves on whether or not we feel like we're worth that. And
Yeah.
so it really does confront us. You know, the thing that often blocks us from being able to receive goodness is just this feeling that we don't deserve it, or we're not worthy of it, or gosh, you know, I mean, I'd have to actually be open and vulnerable to kind of let that exist without
Hmm.
fighting or pushing it away or something like that. And so it's cool that you kind of saw that in yourself and had to kind of decide that you were going to be able to let that go to second chair and
Hmm.
let the goodness be what really worked in your life.
Yes. And then I think, and for me, I think what you just said, I think the biggest part for me was vulnerable because, after, going through past relationships and being hurt and going through that, I, I felt like, okay, if I receive this from him, then he's going to expect something and that I owe him. And I don't want to ever be like that. And so
Yeah.
that was a me thing that I had to get over, to let him in. So, like I said, it wasn't just, I mean, he is a wonderful person. And I think like after that too, I had to get over the hurdle of like, because he didn't fit the picture. So that's the other part. I mean, there was probably a lot of people that said, oh, this won't last, this won't. And the funny thing is, it's the best relationship I've had in my life. And it's like I told you before, it flows, it's easy. I wake up and, I don't know how to explain it to anyone. I just tell everybody it's the best relationship I have because it's easy. Like it
Yeah.
just goes. And I know we'll be together forever and I don't have to think about it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And there's something to be said for, you know, easy is such a word that could be taken a lot of different directions, but there is absolutely something to be said for the fact that it's not as much work. I mean, I know you know my background too. I mean, I had to work like
Mhm.
mad, like to get to this point in my life. Oh, Lordy, it's been a
Uh-huh.
rough one.
Uh-huh.
But I would say the same thing, you know, I mean, the fact that like you don't have to think about it is a big part of it, that you're just left with the absence of contention and the absence of discord leaves you with this whole simple, peaceful, forward moving zen is just really, really nice. And I think that I don't want to understate that, you know, I mean, it's not that it's just that it's easy and we're settling for something there. It's that there is a foundation that's just so peaceful that then it's open and you can feel the happiness in that. And you can also, you know, there are spikes of happiness that are more extreme within that as well. But uh, the daily peace is really can't be understated, can't be undervalued, in my opinion. So,
Right. I mean, I feel like it's not like my other relationships didn't have, peaks of happiness.
right,
But if you want to see, like, would you rather have the relationship that goes up and
right,
down like this? I mean,
right,
granted, but mine is more like this, every day. And then there's spikes,
exactly. Yeah,
and but that stability and just knowing that I can count on him every day is I think that, that easy that I'm referring to.
yeah.
It's not necessarily easy, like you said, like settling. I just
Hmm.
feel like, we don't have to talk about, well, I feel this way and I need you to do this. It's almost like he knows what I need. And vice versa. It's like, he doesn't have to sit there. And I'm not saying it's perfect, like roses every day.
Right,
There are times where we need to sit down. But even when we do argue, I feel like even though we're arguing, it's still this.
yeah.
It's still that stability where, I know that we can get through this and that, we're both working on it. And there's not that, up and down, even during an argument,
Right.
it's still
Yeah.
stable,
Mm.
so I don't know. It's just very, like I said, I just know that we're going to be together in the long haul just because it is this way
Yeah.
stable.
And you
Yeah.
know, another thing it reminds me of is the concept of emotional intelligence, which is gaining more visibility these days. So I think more and more people are familiar with that term. But the foundations of it really lie in understanding yourself, being able to clearly communicate what you're experiencing and what you need and what you're feeling and all that kind of stuff. And then understanding how other people work, so that you can kind of honor them and not take things personal and be able to hear what they're saying, but also see behind it what they're experiencing and understand what's going on. And so in some ways, I think that's what you're saying as well, is that as you've gotten to know yourself better and as you've understand yourself, you can more clearly say what you need and what you're experiencing. And then you're in an environment where your partner is kind of doing the same thing, and you two have really been able to now understand each other to a great level. So when all of that is the foundation that daily conversations happen within and fights happen within, there's just not as much of a spike, because you're playing kind of on a different level than when we can't see that and we aren't communicating like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that whole emotional intelligence thing. And, you hear the cliche is like, in a relationship, you have to be good dance partners and you have to be moving together. And it's so true, because, I mean, there's things where I have quirks and they're not positive and like he knows how to work with it. Do you know what I mean? And I can see that, like, instead of escalating a situation, I always tell him he gets me, like he knows how to not, he knows what buttons to push and not push to escalate. And hopefully I do the same with him, so that, and that's part of that emotional intelligence piece where, like, I can read him, he can read me, and we kind of, I guess, try to get a deeper understanding of each other in that way, and then kind of customize how we communicate based on that. And I don't think I've ever had that in any other relationship. It was always like me, like when you argued, it was like, I don't understand what you're saying. So then it would like escalate the argument. And so I would say that's very different now. When we get into something where we might have a disagreement, it's like I said, like he'll know when to, like, okay, she's not going to hear me right now, so I'm going to back off. Or, or I'm like, oh, if I say it that way, he's not going to hear it. So I think both of us are kind of like I said, that good dance partner where I can read his lead, he can read mine, and we kind of follow each other. So that's what I mean by easy. It like flows easy. It's not that I totally change my bad habits or personality traits that, might not be the best, and vice versa. He just knows how to maneuver and guide through that a little bit better. And pass.
And there's something to be said for people accepting each other kind of as they are today. That really makes for a really loving bond. And so to be able to understand each other well enough to do that is pretty huge. So I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
So to kind of summarize things here, if you were to try and pick one or two tips that you could give other women that are looking at how they can find zen and peace and happiness in their relationship, what would be top of mind for you if you were to try and summarize it?
Well, I would say first, I think the big hindrance in mine was that if it's not working for you, don't do it again. Because I think
so much easier said than done.
I know it is, and that's why you need to do it. Because I think with, I told you before, the fella that I'm with now, I don't think I would have ever, because he didn't fit those little boxes that I made for myself.
Gotcha.
I think we need to not listen to all the noise. With whether it's your family, whether it's society, whether it's your friends, and kind of just listen, like, what do I want in a relationship? And then, make sure that the guys that you're dating kind of fit that. And then second, I feel like in the past, I kind of gave up myself at the beginning of the relationship. And this is not just on the female side, it's on the male side too. I think at the beginning of relationships, we kind of put up this, best behavior. And by the time we let our true colors out, we have so much invested that it's painful.
Right.
So I think at the beginning, and maybe not be as harsh as me and say, hey, look, this is all my, my
I'm actually
baggage.
a fan. I say go for it. Just be yourself 100%. Baggage included.
That's how I deal with it. I just feel like life is short. I'm just going to tell you everything. Because then it gives you a little bit of, because there's some people, this is our make it or break it.
Yeah.
And it brings the relationship immediately to a certain phase where, okay, this isn't going to work, or this is going to work.
Yeah.
And then it also brings it immediately to the stage where, like, okay, if I'm this way, then we can start talking about, okay, how would we deal with that? It immediately brings it to this vulnerable, intimate stage almost immediately, which might scare some people, but I feel like, hey, if you're going to date me, this is who I am.
Yeah.
So,
No, honestly, it also sets the tone that authenticity is going to be important in working with you. And there's really no better way to live than just real, and authentic, and actually
yeah,
saying what you're feeling, and having the other person communicate. So I think it, by doing that, you're really setting the stage that this is how I behave, and so you fit with that. So that's cool.
yeah. So that's the two tips I would say.
I like it. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Thuy. This has been really
Thank
valuable,
you.
and I really appreciate you taking the time to share.
It was fun.
Very good. All right. Well, that is it for this episode. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.